All right. We are thrilled to have on the Endless Hustle podcast today former UFC star, author, and soon to be bare knuckle boxing legend, Paige VanZant. Paige, thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Are you in South Florida right now? Didn't you just move there recently?
Yeah, I'm in Coconut Creek right now.
Oh, wow. Coronavirus doesn't exist in South Florida, I hear.
Yeah. We definitely, when we first got here about like 5 or 6 months ago, we both got COVID like almost immediately. So we've had it run the course.
Oh, wow. Are people not wearing masks down there? Is it just a free for all, or how's it
No,
like?
people are wearing masks. I think that it's a little bit less strict. Like they didn't have the capacity limits on a lot of places. And then I guess, yeah, some areas, like some shows and stuff are still going on and nobody's wearing masks. So it was like kind of it was just crazy to go from Oregon, where we're from, which is extremely strict, to here. Just the environment changes and the rules. It was just crazy.
The best is I'm watching all my friends' Instagram stories who are in Miami right now.
Yeah.
And it's literally like, COVID doesn't exist. Let's party. I love it.
Yep. It's kind of crazy. I know. So we're just trying to live life the best that we can.
So did you and Austin did you guys have symptoms, or how was that for you?
Yeah, I had we got, of course, very fortunate. We're both really healthy, so that helped. I just had really bad, I would say like a really bad migraine or a really bad headache for about 3 or 4 days and a fever. And that was it for my symptoms. And then my husband had a fever, and then he was just like, had really bad joint pain, which was crazy. One of the symptoms was like the joint pain, and he felt like he got hit by a car. Like his joints hurt that bad.
What a wimp, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so we are about a month away from your bare knuckle boxing debut against Britain Hart. What went into that decision calculus? Because even saying bare knuckle boxing hurts my face.
Yeah, there was a lot of decisions that went into it. There was a few different factors. Of course, there was money involved, but then there was also like a passion portion of it where I just felt like it was, when the offer came to me, I was like, wow, that just seems awesome and badass. And how many people can say that they're a professional bare knuckle boxer? Like, it's just such a cool thing. And even though there's like this misrepresentation of the sport where people believe that bare knuckle boxing is more dangerous than like MMA, it's actually not. There was a big study put out that bare knuckle boxing you get less concussions, you get less broken hands, all these things that people kind of thought were going to be, a reason for me not to go into bare knuckle boxing aren't actually true. I see it as an opportunity to really just elongate my career, give me, a few more years, whereas, it's less wear and tear on my body, and that'll just make it so I can compete in combat sports longer.
I think I saw that study. It was the one where like the surface cuts make it look a lot worse than it is. But like, as far as like the brain injury or whatnot, like bare knuckle is a lot less dangerous than say boxing.
Absolutely. And people need to think like, in bare knuckle, you're getting punched with bare knuckles, but in MMA, you're getting kicked with a bare shin and elbowed with a bare elbow and kneed in the face. And anybody my husband's ever fought has just been sliced open. So, and I've been cut open in the MMA fight. The risk is still there. So the risk is there for these the superficial injuries in every sport, but the long-term injuries are lower.
So when does the decision get made for you that I'm going to become a fighter, I'm going to do MMA?
I can't even remember. I feel like I've just been doing it so long. It's just been a part of me. When I was 15, I think I walked into my first MMA gym, and I was doing that while I was going to school, and it just kind of fit. And one thing led to another. I took an amateur fight. I won. I got offered a pro fight for money, and I won that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm a pro fighter now. And I just kept kind of pursuing it. And I was fortunate enough, obviously, to make it my full-time career once I made it to the UFC. And I just don't see myself really doing anything else.
You're one of those fighters, Paige, who has been able to transition their success in the ring to even more success out of the ring.
Yeah.
When did you realize that you had a budding brand that you could essentially monetize outside of the ring?
For me, it's not necessarily about being, I want to be the best representation of myself, but it's not necessarily trying to be a brand. It's more just going out there and being myself and saying yes to these opportunities, and knowing how to conduct yourself in different settings is so important. And that's how you are able to have opportunities outside of just fighting. You have to be able to be someone that can work in different environments. And I think that's how I was able to be so successful and like Dancing with the Stars and doing some of these other cooking shows, is just being comfortable and adapting to the environment that they put me in. And I've been able to have, a lot of success outside of fighting.
Your story is interesting because you grew up competitively dancing. I think you were a dancer for the Portland Trailblazers for a bit. Can you take us inside the culture of the NBA dancer? Because it's a world that I'm completely in the dark.
Okay, so you're like partway true with that. I was a junior Blazer dancer. So I danced for the Blazers when I was back in the day, when I feel like they used to call it the Jail Blazers. It was like,
Blazers are the best.
That era is when I danced for them. And I was, like 12, 13 years old. I was a kid. So they had a junior Blazer team. And it's the kids in the area that were really good at dance got to come on and perform. And unfortunately, I think they got rid of that program, but it gave us some cool, like, professional experience. And I got free tickets to the Blazer games.
There was nothing better than the Jail Blazer era. That was the best, because literally every time you turned on SportsCenter, someone was getting arrested or getting busted for smoking weed. And you're just like, what is wrong with this team? It was so entertaining.
Maybe the Blazers need to find that like toughness again. They're obviously doing well. They're getting far, but I feel like make them a little more tough, and they're going to,
It's a great point. They need to be way more edgy to make it in the playoffs. So I think you're onto something there, Paige.
For people who don't understand, I've been to Portland many, many years ago. The presence of that team in that town, there's really nothing more important than the Blazers. So growing up in Oregon, what do they mean to that area?
Yeah, and the Blazers, that's the only real sports team we had for a long time. We don't have an NFL team still. You support the Seattle Seahawks because they are so close, but we kind of now have a soccer team started. But I do feel like now that there is more sports coming to the Portland area, that even more the Blazers are supported, because people are really becoming sports fans. But especially, Damian Lillard, all the guys out there, they're like icons, because that's all Portland has to represent them.
Is there a cross relationship there? Because can't speak today. You're a famous Portlandian. Is there a cross relationship? But I don't even know if that's the right term, but is there a cross relationship with famous people from Portland?
A little bit, I feel like just because there is so few of us, like, professional athletes from Portland, you do kind of connect. And I obviously went to a lot of Blazer games because I'm a huge Blazer fan, and grew up, danced with them when I was 13. And now obviously it's a totally different team, but still, like, I support the Blazers and love representing Portland. But yeah, I think just there's a small group of people that can actually be and represent from Portland as an athlete.
I'm pumped about your involvement in the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, but I want to talk about kind of your end in the UFC. Before your last UFC fight against Amanda Ribas in the summer, you were complimentary of the UFC, but claimed you could have gotten a regular job and made the same amount of money posting photos to Instagram. I think you said you have nearly 3 million followers, but that can't be true, right?
The way you have to think about it is, when we go into a match, you're like, wow, I got paid X amount of money to fight. But what you don't realize is you don't get paid every day you train. We don't get paid the hours and hours and countless hours that we go into training. Everything we put into fighting, is a full-time job worth of effort. And then when we compete, you only get paid that one time. And unfortunately, if you're like many of us and you have to go through injuries and you have to go through these other variables, it makes it so when you do fight, it's few and far between. And then on top of that, the expenses that you have as a professional fighter are pretty high. You pay your manager, his percentage, whatever they take is 10 to 20%. You have to pay your gym 10 to 20%. You have to pay your corners. This is all stuff that people don't realize, all the stuff that comes out of a fighter's, pay. And then on top of that, taxes. And for me, I was at a period in my life, and that was partly due to poor negotiation of my contract, where just fighting wasn't worth it for me. If I was going to put a full-time job effort into something, and I know how successful I can be at anything I put my mind to. So when I was on like Dancing with the Stars, I know how much money I made there, and Hollywood is, one door away. I could go that way and be making a bunch of money. Yeah, my passion lies in fighting. But if you're not getting paid for what you do, it's not your job, it's your hobby. And I didn't want fighting to be my hobby.
I think it's pretty incredible to see. There's probably no two bigger names on the female side than you and Ronda. And what you guys were able to do for MMA fighters and young women out there who were watching you growing up and now all of a sudden want to become Amanda Nunes and whoever else is the next step. On the male side, there's probably been no one of our generation who's done more to market the sport, whether it's UFC or anywhere else, than Conor McGregor. What do you think about Conor's impact on MMA fighting and what he's been able to do?
I think he's a genius. I think he was the first one to, like, there was amazing stars of MMA based on their like capability and the way that they competed in the octagon. There was a lot of people who are extremely successful. You know, George St. Pierre is the one that instantly comes to mind. He's a huge recognizable name. But there is nobody that's done it like Conor McGregor, to where he knew how to market himself. And it didn't matter if he was winning or losing, people love him. And he was able to get out of, I'm not just an MMA fighter. And he was the first one to get paid for who he is. And he absolutely deserves everything he's gotten. And he's worked extremely hard. And it's cool to see that there's somebody like that, like a front runner. And now you can really see, you know, the personalities of all these other fighters come through. Everyone's trying to be the next Conor McGregor and walk like him and talk like him. I think, though, no one will ever be able to have his originality. And there's going to be other stars. I absolutely believe that. But I think he's going to be the always known as the first most important person to really change the UFC and MMA to like this household name.
He's got his rematch coming up with Poirier, and it's fascinating because you're right. Regardless of what goes off with him outside the ring, you can't help but cheer for the guy. He's a human cartoon character. Do you find yourself being a fan? And I'd love kind of your prediction on what we can expect from the rematch.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely, I'm a fan. Unfortunately, in this matchup, I have just switched to American Top Team here in Florida. So Dustin Poirier is now my teammate. So I have a stake in, you know, I guess for me, I'm going to watch as a fan. I think it's an amazing fight. It's extremely exciting. This is just going to be an awesome fight between two people who are obviously training extremely hard, and they just want to show the world how good they are. I think it's an exciting matchup, and I'm just going to watch it as a fan.
That's a roundabout way of saying McGregor in round one, I think.
Oh.
She's like, I can't go back to my gym if I say that.
Paige, you mentioned the pay issue, but what's worse, and sorry to pick scabs here, but what's worse, in my opinion, is, you know, the UFC only covers what, up to a year of insurance up to the injury date. And obviously with you and that arm, that didn't bode well for you. Did you have any internal discussions with the suits at the UFC? Like, hey, I've been doing this since I was 18, like help a sister out.
No, I didn't. And yeah, it is unfortunate, but with the whole like health insurance situation. But I think people need to understand, like, you're going to have frustrations with your job. And I think it's okay to be outspoken, because we are hired as, you know, basically independent contractors. And I think for me, it was a moment I needed to understand, you know, the UFC it's a corporation. It's a huge corporation, and they're running it as such. We're not necessarily treated as, you know, I feel like it was just like we're treated as employees. And, you know, if you want to be paid more, you have to fight for it, and you have to ask for it, and you have to negotiate it. So, yeah, I was unhappy with my pay, but I also was stuck in a contract that was negotiated for me by my representation. And I wasn't happy with that contract. So you do have to see both sides of it. If you want more money, you have to fight for it, and you have to ask for it.
I think you and your husband are so incredibly savvy on social media. Your Instagram is one of the best follows out
You
there.
were going to say sexy there.
Well, that was bringing me to what I was going to ask. This naked photo series you guys have come up with. Walk me through that whole process.
Yeah, well, he's right next to me playing Call of Duty in his underwear, right there. So I'm happy that people think our photo shoot was sexy, but we're just having fun. You know, it was quarantine, and, you know, we're married. He and I just kind of walk around the house naked constantly. And he was like, oh, I'm going to go do pull-ups, and starts doing pull-ups in the garage. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a great idea. And I like set up our little tripod, which everyone's so curious who takes the pictures. Like no one's ever heard of a tripod before. So I set the tripod. I was like, oh, we're going to take photos. And we did the first one and I was like, this is awesome. Let's like make this a thing. And truly we were just trying to spread a little bit of happiness during that first 2 weeks of like quarantine when everybody was stuck at home. So we were trying to spread a little laughter, and we didn't realize it would make that big of an impact.
Content is such a huge play out there right now. When you're doing the photo shoot, then you see the photos, are you guys kind of like, we've got some great content here, people are going to respond?
Oh yeah, always. And I think there's always that like fine balance, like the line that I walk between like, oh, do I really want to like make this like a thing? I guess do I want to have to, because people always have their like voice in they want to talk about what I'm doing. And I was like, well, maybe I should just not. And I was like, no, I just want to be myself. I'm going to do whatever I want anyways. And I think that's what has made me recognizable in the sport is I pretty much just don't care. And I want to just be myself. And myself is obviously a lot different than most other professional fighters. And yeah, those naked photo shoots were more of a spur of the moment, definitely not planned.
Yeah, your authenticity is incredible, Paige. I love it. That's what I think makes your social media so desirable.
Yeah, I feel like I try to be as authentic as possible. You know, you'll see a mixture of me and feeling like beautiful and doing like professional photo shoots because that's a part of me that loves, you know, I love being girly, but then you're also going to see like the real me. I just don't have like makeup on, training every day and the grind part of it, I guess.
Your husband, the gentleman, he seems like a genuinely good guy, a dangerous one, but a good one. Obviously, he's very accomplished himself, national champion wrestler, undefeated MMA. But when photos of you in like a bikini are making national news, like Page 6 weekly, is there like a level of like spousal discomfort there, or does he realize that publicity is part of the game?
Oh, he is the most like down to earth. You really can't phase him. And when I was filming like a TikTok yesterday, which is like this new thing. I don't do TikTok, but last night I did. I was like, oh, should I post it? Should I not? And he's more leans towards the side of like, go for it. Like, love yourself. You're beautiful. And when I'm like on the fence about posting like a more sexual photo, I always ask like, hey, what do you think? And he's the one who's like, just be yourself. And, you know, he's the one who gives me all the confidence to like put myself out there. So if all these guys are like, you know, thankful for my sexual photos, my husband's the one to thank for that.
You must have so many thirsty guys in the DMs. Is that like, do you like hire someone and just delete all of them?
No, unfortunately, I can't go through all of my DMs. I have tried to get better at commenting back to people and trying to be a little bit more engaged with like the fans on social media. The creepy DMs definitely have not gone down since I've gotten married, which I thought they would, but you know, we just have fun with them.
Do you have any notably creepy ones?
Oh, there's too many to even think about. There's too many. I don't know what the deal is with people that are like obsessed with my feet, but I get the craziest feet fetish fans who send messages to my husband and me like, please show Paige's feet. It's crazy.
Arthur, that's your burner.
Yeah, don't they realize your husband can kick the shit out of all of them?
Yeah, I know. And I don't know why they think like asking him, he's going to be like, yeah, dude, I'll do you a solid and send you a picture of my wife's feet. Like, it's very odd.
Looks like I'm going to have to find a new avenue. Maybe I'll just go straight to you at this point.
Yeah, he's not gonna budge. Well, actually, if someone was like, here, I'll give you $500, he'd probably sneak a picture of my feet, to be honest.
Oh, wow. All right, good. I'll save up.
He's money motivated.
Yeah.
He's going to be a professional Call of Duty player soon too. Guys like him are good at everything, I'm imagining.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't take him long to get good at this game.
So I'm curious about nicknames. Obviously with Austin, it's the gentleman. With you, it's 12 gauge. I'm always curious about like where these nicknames come from. Where did 12 gauge come from?
Gosh, 12 gauge I had since I had started, honestly, in MMA. I went pro and I was filling out, I had another fight lined up and I'm filling out my paperwork and they're like, what's your fight name? And I was like, I don't know. What is my fight name? And so I did a cool little like a poll on Facebook and I was like, hey, I need a fight name for my next pro fight. What do you guys think? And there was probably like maybe 100 comments with like, you know, some nickname ideas, and I was reading them off. My dad picked 12 gauge because it just represented where I'm from. I come from, obviously am from Oregon in the Portland area, but I'm from a very small town in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. So I grew up hunting and fishing and the country life. And so like 12 gauge fit me.
I want to talk to you about Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, because to see what David is building with that organization, I remember when it first started, and now to see the popularity around it and to be able to sign people of your stature is just mind-boggling. What are your thoughts on what he's been able to build and what the future of the organization is?
Oh, there's so much respect for Dave Feldman and what he's doing with BKFC. Honestly, they're growing like astronomically. They're really putting a lot behind what they do. But you know what? There's the portion of how hard he's working, but once you go to a bare knuckle fight, it is like nothing you've ever been to. Like, you know, in MMA, you'll have those UFC fights where something will happen and there'll be like a disqualification, or there'll be these like other variables that can cause the fight to be a little bit like boring or not as exciting as you would expect. But with the bare knuckle matches, every single fight is like a sprint, and they're all extremely just, I don't know, it's exciting from bell to bell. You only have like their 5 2-minute rounds. So you have a short period of time in each round to really make your mark and win the round. So it's insane. The excitement behind each fight is crazy. So it's something like this sport is going to take off because every fight is one to remember.
It feels like the early days of the UFC. I remember when the UFC began taking off, and then you would just quickly hear the murmur, and then that murmur became larger. I feel like we're seeing the same thing with BKFC right now.
I think so too. And I truly believe when people tune in and watch these fights, they're going to be like, holy cow, this is exciting. It does feel like, you know, the Gladiator, like back in the day, just 2 people fighting, and it's exciting. It's a cool thing to be a part of.
So raw. There's nothing to hide behind. I'm pumped for that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's get to the real, because I watched probably 100 episodes of the show Chopped. And, you know, I'm honored to talk. You're a Chopped champion, correct?
I am a Chopped champion. So I went on, it was like a 2-episode thing where I won my first episode and I went on to like a championship round, and unfortunately didn't win the second episode. But the first one it was so exciting. One, I got to compete for a charity, which was always fun to do, but I was a huge fan of Chopped, and going on that show was it was a dream come true.
If you were to go to the electric chair tomorrow, what would your final meal be?
Thai food. Honestly, Thai food is like my favorite cuisine in the entire world.
So every year pre-COVID, I would always be on the red carpet for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition and interview all the models, the celebrities. The first year you were in it, you were on the red carpet, but I missed you accidentally. I think I was interviewing Kate Upton or somebody else, and they're like, oh, Paige VanZant just walked by. And that's when I'd become familiar with you and the UFC fame. And I was like, damn, I wanted to interview her. When you got the SI Swim call, because it's such an iconic franchise, like what was going through your head? How cool was that?
That was awesome. I think so. Obviously, I was 100% on board with being a part of it. Unfortunately, though, when I got the call to say like, hey, you need to be in Mexico for Sports Illustrated, like in a few days, I had just found out that my arm was broken again. So I knew I needed to have surgery, and I knew my arm was like, it obviously hurt. I was walking around with a broken arm. So I had to fly to Mexico, do the shoot. I was only in Mexico for maybe 24 hours, maybe less. We landed, started shooting at like 4 a.m. And then I was on a plane to Las Vegas to have surgery on my arm. So all the pictures, like I wish I could go back and like be a little bit more comfortable and not in like dying in pain. But the experience was something I'll remember forever. And yeah, I was really, really happy that I got the call for it. It was awesome.
How intimidating is it? I always think to myself, like, I'll look at angles of myself either on TV or in pictures and be like, there's a double chin, there's the mole I hate, whatever it is. This is something that millions of people are going to see. Are you like literally analyzing every picture and you're like, they got that little piece of skin I didn't want to see? Like what?
No, for me, I have so much respect for like high level photographers and high level like magazines. I knew that they were going to make me look beautiful. I knew that they were going to pull the best out of me. And I feel like because I have done like photo shoots with good photographers, they can make you look just beautiful. They know how to they know how to bring your best self forward. So I knew whatever they were going to take out of me was going to be amazing. And I just had a lot of fun. And I had my husband there. So it's nice to have somebody like, I'm in these like tiny, like thong G-string bikinis on a beach, and he's getting drunk and drinking tequila in a hammock. So it was cool to just look over and like have that comforting person there. And he was like, "What? Have fun."
Come to think of it, there was a huge missed opportunity for you to wear like a cast. You should have been in a cast, like a fighter in a cast in a G-string, like a pink cast. That's art right there.
That's art. I'll tell them next time. We'll keep the cast.
I'll let them know that this random guy on a podcast told you that you should do that.
Uh-huh.
What's one experience for you, Paige, that you haven't gotten to do that you're hoping with your notoriety you can get to do?
Gosh, I really take things as they come and kind of evaluate each opportunity. I don't know. Of course, like Sports Illustrated was just huge, and Dancing with the Stars was awesome. So with Dancing with the Stars, I got second place, and I would love to go on like in a redemption season and go get first. Obviously, that's the competitive athlete in me. So there's tons of stuff, I take things as they come, and I'm excited for, I do feel like with BKFC, I'm going to get new opportunities that had never been presented before. And I'm just excited to see what they are.
As a girl from Portland, is this all pretty crazy to think about in your 20s, what you've been able to experience? Like what kind of goes through your head about this whole journey so far?
It's not crazy to me. I just feel like from a young age, I knew I was destined to be successful. I was very fortunate that I had parents who really supported anything I wanted to do. And, because I was I wanted to dance for the Blazers when they do that junior Blazer dancer thing. I didn't live in Portland. I lived 2 hours away. So my parents had to drive me up, and they drive me up for dance class and drive me back home. So we were in the car like 4 hours a day just for me to focus on dance, what I was doing at the time. And then as I got older, I told them, I want to try to be on Disney Channel. So, and my dad works a blue collar job. He had to work. He still works his life away, and he's constantly working to support his family. But they saved up enough money, or they put it on their credit cards. They let me fly to LA and try to do Disney Channel, and nothing came from that. But they offered me these like world experiences to where now the things that I do, although they're very exciting, I do feel like I'm meant for it. And my parents kind of put that in me, and they trained me for this kind of environment.
We get to talk to professional athletes all the time, and it's always fascinating when they finally hit it big and they start making good money, being able to give back to the people they supported.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, to give back to the people that supported them. When you started making that good money and getting the bag, what were you able to do for your parents? Like, what was that moment where you're like, I want to give back?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, and this is like the proudest moment in my life. It was when I did like a switch kick knockout to Becker Rawlings. I did this like cool highlight reel knockout, and I ended up getting a performance bonus for it because it was pretty freaking cool. And I used the performance bonus, and I bought my mom a car. And I went in, of course, I'm sure the car dealership was like, I'm like their perfect client, because I walk in with my bonus. I'm like, this is what I have, and I need to buy a car. And my mom was camping with my dad, and I showed up at her house, and she pulled into the driveway, and I made sure I told like the car dealership I needed the biggest bow that has to have a bow on it. Has to. So, and yeah, my mom didn't know what to do. She was, so excited and in complete shock. But now her license plate, which I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but it says something like KO for mom, or like knockout for mom, something about a knockout for mom. So I knocked someone out and got my mom a car.
What was her reaction when she sees that car?
Oh, she was shocked. I don't know that my mom has ever had a brand new car ever. We always, you buy your cars off Craigslist and you get used cars. And that's just kind of the way we lived as a family. We definitely lived within our means, and we weren't an extravagant or a family at all. And yeah, it was shocking. She's never had a brand new car before. So I was really happy that I got to do that for her.
How does the weight classes work in bare knuckle fighting? I know you had a hell of a time with, Michelle Watterson, 137 down to 115. What does that look like in bare knuckle?
Yeah, so for bare knuckle, it's the same as MMA weight classes, I believe. From what I understand, I know my fight for them will be at 125, which is the division that I had left in the UFC. I think it's MMA weight classes. I know boxing has a lot more weight classes, like traditional boxing does, than MMA. I'm under the impression that it's, more towards MMA weight classes.
I want to ask you about one of my favorite shows, Cobra Kai. First of all, please tell me that you're a Karate Kid and Cobra Kai fan. Let's start there.
Okay. You're gonna hate me, but I've never seen that. And I'm not a big like karate movie person and just never got into them, I guess.
Your generation, how do you guys not see these iconic things? It blows my mind.
He asks me this all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure my husband has, but I just, if we like growing up as a kid, I'm not sure obviously when that movie came out, but if we had to buy it on one of those tapes. So I was only spending money on like movies I really wanted to watch, and it wasn't that.
When you look around with the movies and you see the fight scenes, obviously you know what you're doing, you know what's real and what's not. The reason I was asking about Cobra Kai is I was going to ask you what your thought on the fight scenes were. Like, what are your thoughts when you're watching these movies and you see that the fight scenes are kind of shitty? Like, are you just like pissed and are you like, can you guys get real fighters?
You know what is I do feel like watching like kind of action movies with fight scenes over the years, I do feel like they're getting more authentic, and I'm seeing like, you would never see an armbar in like a traditional fight scene in movies until recently. Now you're seeing these like actual legitimate fight moves, which I think is awesome. So yeah, hopefully maybe they'll hire me for a movie and I'll show them a really good fight scene too.
You claim to have a very good relationship with Dana White throughout your time with the UFC, but he made some comments after your last fight that were a little bit dismissive. The public sees Dana as this kind of shrewd, my way or the highway type figure. What can you tell us about who Dana White is when the cameras are off?
We did have a good relationship. I felt like if I needed something, I would just text him and reach out. I feel like he does make himself available to you when you need something. But there's a reason the UFC is so successful, and he's a big part of that. And unfortunately, like, I don't know what the right saying is, but if you want to get something done in business, you have to stand firm to what you believe in. And he has some very strong beliefs, and it has made him extremely successful.
In terms of looking at the overall scope of female fighters, whether it's MMA or boxing or whatever, what's kind of been the most mind-blowing thing to see about how this has all just grown? I mean, even in the WWE, you now have divas headlining major events. Did you as a little girl imagine that we would see this type of explosion in female combat sports?
No, because when I started fighting, I wasn't a fan. I got into it because I wanted to. I got into it because it was cool. I didn't even realize that there was like a fan base for MMA or for fighting or for combat sports. We weren't really a sports fan. We didn't sit around and watch sports on Sundays. It wasn't really like something we were into. We were more like an action, like on the weekend we go ride motorcycles or play sports together. So it wasn't until I made it probably to the UFC where I was like, wow, this is like a big deal. Like women fighting is actually like a big deal. It just didn't seem like a big deal to me. So now I'm super excited and proud to say that I was a part of like this female era and takeover of people really becoming more like accustomed to women fighting.
When was the moment you realized you were famous? Like, was there a moment you walked into a restaurant or a club and they're like, oh shit, that's Paige VanZant?
No, okay, so I still don't really necessarily see myself as being like famous, but okay, I do have one. When I was growing up, I was a huge fan of that show, The While You Were Out. If you remember that on TLC, it was
Tables have turned, Arthur.
Yeah, the While You Were Out on TLC. Obviously it was from a long time ago, but the host of the show was a lady named Paige, and I was a really big fan of her because my name is also Paige, and I like interior decorating, I guess, as a kid. And anyways, she hired me for a cameo for her husband. So that was like crazy. I don't know. That I felt very famous at that point.
What an I made it moment. What an absolute great I made it moment. Yeah. I got to be on a TLC show with a cameo.
Yeah.
Is there one female figure in pop culture who you think has the toughness and athleticism to succeed in the ring or the octagon?
Obviously, Demi Lovato, she has trained for a long time. I know for sure she has her blue belt. I'm not sure if she's a purple belt yet. She trains like crazy. I mean, if you watch all of her videos up at Unbreakable with Jake Glazer, she she's like, if she actually did a celebrity like fight, she's really good, you know, and she's working really hard. So she's awesome.
What's your diet look like? We asked Keith Smith, who's a fullback from the Falcons. The guy eats Chipotle 5 times a day. So we're always curious about what does a diet look like in order to get in shape?
I mean, for me, it's like, losing weight is super hard, but the idea behind it is relatively simple. Eat less calories, work out more. And that's pretty much it.
All right, Paige VanZant, you're making your bare knuckle boxing debut on February 5th. And as a confidence heat check, we're going to play a little game called Could Paige VanZant Kick This Celebrity's Ass? I'm going to show you a series of photos, and you have to honestly answer what the outcome of the fight would be and in what round.
Okay, cool. That's great.
All right, let's go. Wife of Jesse Consopoulos and former prisoner Lori Loughlin.
Oh, dear heavens. Well, yeah, I feel like almost any female celebrity you put up, I would probably win first round knockout.
First round knockout. Former MMA champ and Expendables 3 actress Rowdy Ronda Rousey.
Awesome. Okay, you know what? We are different weight classes. And she's a legend, obviously. So, but who knows? That would be an exciting fight. I'm going to play the fence on that one.
You can only play the fence once.
Okay.
3-time world's strongest woman, Donna Moore.
Awesome. That's cool. Okay, you know what? I'd have to go into that one with a little bit of strategy. But I don't know that strong women know how to defend head kicks. So I'm going to go first round knockout.
First round knockout. Wow.
She's lifting a boulder there, though. That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty cool.
2016's People's Sexiest Man Alive, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh yeah. Okay. You know what? All that muscle takes a lot of oxygen. So I feel like I could move around. It might take this second round because I'm going to have to get him tired, but let's go second round TKO.
Second round TKO, not bad. Comedian and Academy Award nominee, Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, he's funny. I don't want to punch him. Okay, but really if we fought first round knockout, obviously, but very funny.
Comedian and Academy Award nominee, Kumail Nanjiani today.
Wow. Same first round knockout. Super funny though.
Even after the glow up. Wow.
Yeah, even after the glow up.
Former bodybuilder and American Gladiator, Wolf.
Those are short shorts. Let's see. Same kind of, I would have the same tactic as The Rock, but I feel like I would submit him.
He might have better hair than you, Paige. We might all be asking for hair tips.
United States Senator and prehistoric reptile, Mitch McConnell.
I can't punch him.
You have to. It's a fight, Paige. You have to punch Mitch.
No, I'd run away, and you don't punch old people.
You live to see another day, Mitch.
Yeah, sorry.
Former actor and martial artist, Carlos Ray Norris, also known as Chuck.
Okay, that one's interesting. Now the question is he going to bring guns to this fight?
No, he cannot bring a gun.
Can't bring a gun. Let's say third round decision. That one might go to decision, but I'll win for sure.
Wow, that's the closest.
You realize, Paige, he fought Bruce Lee, right? Like, Chuck
Yeah.
knows what he's doing.
Actor, producer, and co-owner of Wahlburgers, the fast casual dining restaurant, Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, you know what? I feel like he'd put up a good run for his money. But I'm going to say I'd beat him in a third round knockout.
Wow, Wahlberg can stop 9/11. He can't stop Paige VanZant.
That's very true.
Feminist icon, Rosie the Riveter.
Wow. That's like, how do you expect me to answer me fighting Rosie the Riveter?
It's a fight. Anything goes.
You don't fight icons.
So I'll take VanZant in first round knockout there.
Yeah.
YouTuber and coronavirus denier, Jake Paul.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Although I wouldn't fight him, maybe my husband would, and that would be first round knockout.
Yeah, we got to get that on the books, though, if he's up for that.
Yep.
Former NBA guard and winless boxer, Nate Robinson.
Nate, okay, you know what? I have a cool story. Me and him actually did a appearance together recently, or I guess a few months ago, but I feel like we put up a good fight. I don't know how to
He lost to Jake Paul in that.
I know that was unfortunate, but I do feel like me and Nate are kind of around the same size, so I do see myself winning that fight.
2 more here. Former Vine star and shirtless coffee drinker Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. You know what? Okay, so this is hard because obviously I do think that the Logan and Jake Paul are a lot like Conor McGregor. They're geniuses and they've done so well for what they're doing, and they're making a story out of nothing. But for this story, I guess, yeah, I'll knock him out in the first round.
All right, last one. Bare knuckle boxer Britain Hart.
Well, all right, you guys got to tune in because that one's going to be fireworks. So February 5th.
February 5th, Paige VanZant. Thank you for playing. Could Paige VanZant kick the celebrity's ass? Rip her heart out in February, will you?
Yep, I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.
Thanks so much.
Yep, bye.